My name's Nigel Hollis. I'm the Chief Global Analyst at Millward Brown. Millward Brown is one of the world's largest consumer insight companies. We help clients by connecting them with their customer or their consumer and exploring different issues to provide information to our clients so they can confidently act on that information and make business decisions. Well, my first book was called The Global Brand, and it explored how companies can operate on the global stage effectively and efficiently. And then the second book is Brand Premium, and that explores how companies can command a price premium in today's very competitive marketplace. Do all brands have the capacity to command a price premium? And the answer is probably no. There are some brands which naturally are a value player. So they have a business model that means that they produce their product or they deliver their service as cheaply as possible. And that usually means that their margins are not big enough to support above-the-line advertising, great customer service and so on. So in Europe, a classic example would be Ryanair, which has been struggling recently because cheap prices have proven to be very attractive. They fly a lot of people, but customer satisfaction is actually negative. In fact, it's one of the few brands where many people have an instinctive negative response to the airline. So if you're going to be a premium brand, you really need to think about the quality of what you deliver and how you deliver it, and creating a great experience for your customer. Particularly for financial institutions, for instance, a lot of what determines whether you are a premium brand or not is that ability to connect with your customer, make them feel valued, because then they will value the service that they get from you. If you're a service brand, obviously premium takes on a slightly different connotation. So maybe if you're a financial service, you don't need to have the lowest interest rate on your checking account. Maybe you can offer some more premium services that offer your customers more flexibility. But you ought to see the positive outcome of being a premium brand, for instance, in less churn, so less customers leaving for another financial institution. You might find that your cost of acquisition is lower. So trying to get new customers come to your bank costs you less than if your reputation was less well developed. So slightly different definition from a product brand, but how do you do it? It's actually back to the basics. Are you delivering a service that people really appreciate and makes them feel valued? Because as I said before, if someone feels valued, then they'll value the brand and they'll be willing to maybe get a little less in terms of interest, maybe pay a little bit more in terms of fees, simply because they feel that they're getting a fair exchange. So in the premium brand, I talk a lot about meaningful difference. And to me, there are four components of a meaningfully different brand. First of all is purpose. If the management team and the staff at the company understand what's the difference that this brand is trying to make in people's lives, number one, it's motivating to the employees because it's like, hey, I'm making a difference. But number two, it gives the brand a sense of purpose. It knows where it's going, and it gives you a reference point. Does this fit with what my brand is trying to do, with what it stands for, or doesn't it? If it's an action that fits, we do it. If it's an action that doesn't fit, we don't do it. Number two is delivery, because you can make very grandiose promises, but if you don't live up to those promises, if your customer experience is bad, if you say a customer walks into a bank and there are all of these places you line up. You know, it makes them feel like little mice running through a maze to get to where they want to go. That's not so good. Then you have resonance. So the way the bank projects itself in its communications, the way that people talk, the customer service centers, those all impact how strongly the connection is with the consumer. Because it's not just about meeting people's needs, it's creating that emotional connection as well. And then last but not least is difference, because difference means that there is something that people can easily vocalize. This is why I choose this particular company. It makes the customer feel good because there's an easy rationalization for why they're using that service. And it helps create that sense of premium. If you're offering something they feel that they can't get somewhere else, it's not just something that makes them choose, but it's something that helps them to justify why they make the choice. Once you've achieved a premium status, I mean, the real challenge is to keep it. It's to put the systems and processes in place to make sure that you're delivering great customer service. And it's to make sure that when you communicate, it's in a consistent way. Not that you're always saying the same thing, but the way that you deliver it is familiar, because human beings have evolved over time. One of the key mechanisms that we operate on is familiarity. You see someone you know and you go, you know, and just seeing them time after time builds that sense of connection. And if a company is always changing the way it's talking to its customers, you don't get that sense of familiarity. And there's always this sort of feeling of distance between the two. So I think consistent processes and consistent communication, unless something changes, because there are always things shifting in the marketplace. Maybe a competitor comes up with an innovation that's threatening your business. Maybe the consumer trends are changing. So right now, of course, everybody's thinking about how do they adapt their business to a mobile environment, because everybody's on their phones. You've got to adapt to those things, but that doesn't mean that you have to throw away everything that the brand has stood for. You need to evolve it alongside the consumer. We're coming out of recession. You know, brands have struggled to keep their customer base, and now is the time that marketers need to be thinking about how can they re-engage those customers with the brand. And really there are three basic ways that you can re-establish premium perceptions. Number one, and mission critical, is to challenge people's perceptions of what the brand stands for. So many brands have been, if you like, still doing premium marketing, brand advertising maybe, but offering lots of promotions. So people are beginning to get used to buying that brand at a cheaper price, finding it on discount if it's packaged goods, seeing sort of bundled special offers if it's telecoms. Now's the time to start saying, okay, here are some new innovations, but not positioning them as cheap, positioning them as premium offers, and supporting that by how they are marketed to build credibility around the premium offer. So these ones are not going to be discounted. These ones are not going to be bundled in, buy one, get this, get that, free. And then last but not least, communication. If you don't communicate, if you don't talk about yourself, people's existing conceptions about the brand will continue. So you have to start again building up that connection with your customer, trying to shift the way they see the brand, making sure that you use the appropriate signals and cues for a premium brand in your category. At the end of the day, it's very simple. The best loyalty builder is a great experience, right? So the product works, the service is great, the customer gets what they want. Marketing can help create that experience, but at the end of the day, it's all about the business model. Does it work? Do customers value what they're getting? And do they get that consistent good experience over time? That's how you build loyalty, and there's no other way of doing it that I know. Unless, of course, you're a value brand, in which case, an okay product at a cheap price is great.